This is IA Forward, your playbook for success as an insurance agent. Now, here to help you knock it out of the ballpark are your hosts, Shane Tatum, Mike Basil, and Tonya Lead.
Welcome to IA Forward. We are so excited to welcome one of our special guests from a few years ago when she was our summer intern. And she was so fabulous, we decided to keep her. And Campbell, welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
So, Campbell, I'm going to let you and Shane talk a little bit about what you've been doing since you started work at Integra full-time and how that has become the catalyst for our podcast topic today.
Well, she's been trying to figure out how to work with me. So that's a challenge in and of itself. And she's been doing a lot, and we've been learning a lot. Like, we've actually been trying to figure some things out and doing really hard things, at least in my view, hard things, right? I don't know about her view of if they're hard things. She's done a lot of hard things in her life. So.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely say it's a different type of hard. It's not as physically hard as it is mentally and emotionally. So.
And we have our therapy session on Tuesday morning where Campbell and I get on the phone and we talk, and that way we both kind of, have that moment to discuss what working with Shane is like.
Yeah. So, for a little background for those that may not know, Campbell played 4 years at the University of Kansas, played softball in the Big 12, and was an Integra athlete, an NIL, one of our very first NIL athletes, and was a summer intern, and then became a part-time employee her senior year, and then became a full-time employee just in the last few months, and has really just kind of gone through a lot, learning, with Integra, kind of grew up with us a little bit, and I would say from in her college career, and then now at post-college career, and it's been really cool to watch. And was a marketing major, now a marketing degree holder from the University of Kansas. That kind of feels good, right? Like, yes, I'm done. Like, I'm out of college. Like, that's awesome. So she did a lot of hard things as a Division I, not just a Division I. I always say this because it is a different level. All D1's a different level, but Power 4 conferences take it up another notch. And so she did a lot of hard things, and we're trying to roll out some pretty hard things ourselves. So I don't know. How's that feel?
It feels good. I mean, I think it's just you get so used to the life that you're living. And so for me, yes, the softball seems like it's so insanely hard to a lot of people who aren't living that lifestyle, but it just becomes second nature. It becomes something that you're so used to every day that when you finally get removed from it, you kind of have to take a step back and, reevaluate your goals and your desires and the things that, you have in front of you for the next, however many years of your life.
It's kind of like starting your own agency too, right? I mean, as a producer, you have these goals and you set these goals and you know what your commission is going to be every month and all of the things. But then when you start your own agency, then you're having to go back and pretty much reevaluate everything you've done so far, figure out what you want to apply as a business owner, of what you should leave behind as a business owner. And it's a totally different use of your time if you do it correctly.
Yeah, I immediately kind of come up with this thought of, I guess it's a phrase that I've heard for a while, but I've circled back around to it recently, and it's do hard things. Like, I don't know why I love that right now, but I do. I love it for agency owners. I love it for producers who are trying to become an agency owner. I love it for where Campbell's at. in her career, just starting out. I know that she did hard things in college, right? And I know there's, not everybody does hard things, right? Not everybody chooses that route. And this is a little off topic, but it does kind of resonate with me. Can you imagine where I'm going to go off topic here? Tonya's like shocked. I read an article this morning in the Wall Street Journal that University of Michigan is kind of following a couple of other schools, some Ivy League schools, and they're removing letter grades for incoming freshmen starting in the fall of 2027, and they're going to a pass. It's not a pass or fail. They're going to a pass or no credit. That is not doing hard things. And I'm going to get, probably going down this path of maybe disagreement with some people out there. But, going to college is a hard thing. And they're citing mental health. They're citing, too much stress on college freshmen. When I went to college, which was a while back, freshman weed out. That was a phrase like, oh, that's a weed out class. Don't take that in your first fall. Or, oh, you got to do that. You got to do that as in a summer class over at such and such community college. Those were the phrases, right? Like you knew going in that course or that class in your major, it was kind of a rite of passage, a weed out. Do you have what it takes? That was kind of our mindset. And now we're kind of removing that, right? We're removing it and making it a little really soft. Is that fair? Can I say that, Campbell?
Yes, you can say that.
I don't think soft goes in the same category as Power 4 athletics.
I'm trying to figure out how that works when you're applying to grad school or
a job,
med school or law school. If there's no GPA, if there's nothing but you have passed or don't have credit, I can see where that could cause some challenges depending on what you're doing next.
I really think about Campbell's background and just kind of what she was sharing with us just a few minutes ago before we started the podcast. And I want her to get into this a little deeper and dive into it. But what is college for? What are the early days of learning your trade? If you don't go to college, what are those days for? Aren't those days about learning how to do the hard things? When you get to work, when you get to a career, where does that leave those students? What kind of expectation does that set?
Yeah, it's hard for me to speak on the specifics of, how they're going to analyze the credit or pass, whatever they're going to call it. But for me, looking at it from an outside perspective, now that I'm removed from college, but when I was in it, obviously playing softball, the expectation was you got good grades, right? You wanted the team GPA to be as high as it could be. You wanted, you get extra awards if you have a good GPA at the end of the year. But looking at KU specifically, in my roommates, we all held ourselves to a really high standard of what we got in the classroom. But some of my classes, if I wanted to have a 4.0 or get an A in the class, I had to have above a 93. So that's not even just, taking it to another level of pass or no credit, but you can't even have an A when you have a 90.
Yep.
To me, that's the basis of an A, but it's it holds you to an even higher standard of, okay, yeah, you're going to show up to class and you're going to get the attendance points, but then you also have to, achieve a higher level of learning and understanding of the concepts if you want to maintain that perfect GPA. And it was doing hard things, right? It's not just going to be handed to you. So I think that kind of takes away that, drive to want to exceed higher than you might expect for yourself.
Yeah, I remember thinking the first time I heard that, that the A is not a 90, right? At KU in many of the classes, many of the courses, the A is what I would almost call borderline, like getting into I don't know, A plus category, like 93. I mean, if I made a 93, I was not a great student. And I've shared that across the podcast many occasions, in part of my story. But, a 93, people would have passed out. Like really, I mean, that would have been like faint category for my world. And somehow or another, I raised a couple of daughters, one of which is Campbell's best friend. And, they were very high achievers in school and in life. And so somehow or another that happened out of me. I don't really know how after my student career. But I became an advocate through that failure of the expectation bar, like where you set the bar, is generally where people will strive to try and be, right? And if you set the bar low, well, then they're not gonna achieve a very high standard.
100%.
So our topic today, going back to insurance, is talking about marketing as a marathon and not a sprint. And this is one of those things that Shane and Campbell have really been diving into. And it has been teaching patience for all of us, I think, right? And it's this idea of you launch a campaign, you make the social media posts, you send the emails, you sponsor events, you record videos, and then you're looking at it 14 minutes later going, do we get any leads? Is anything happening? And the answer is going to pretty much always be no.
Yeah. To help everyone understand a little bit of the perspective and context, one of the initial projects that Campbell dove into was actually marketing this podcast and doing a lot of just how do we reach people that may not, know in a normal channel, know who we are. How do we get out there and do that inside the insurance industry? Number two, really the distribution side of the insurance industry. And we want people to know about us, hear what we're talking about, follow our podcast, all those things. And that is a very specialized segment. Like you can't just go run an ad, in my view. At least we haven't come to that. You can't just go buy a billboard. Like we're not marketing in one county. We're trying to spread this throughout, the country, really, in several states that we're targeting. And wow, like that's a whole level of stuff that has opened my eyes to the marathon. And just understanding how to email people, right? How can we legally do this? How do we stay compliant with what's it called? Okay, there you go. How do we do this? And it's absolutely not going to happen by the end of the day today.
No, it definitely will not. And I think that was one of the biggest adjustments that I found when starting this project and, basically starting from the ground, because I'm new to this. Not only am I new to, this industry, I'm new to email marketing. I'm new to just, actually having a job in marketing, not just learning about it in a classroom. So actually being able to implement it has been really cool because I have learned a lot about, how my brain works, how other people's brain works that I'm working with, how, just email marketing in general goes, the things that you can do, the things that will prohibit you from getting to people's inboxes. Like it's been a true learning experience for me. But along with that, I have had to learn a lot of patience. I mean, that's something that I would say that I tend to struggle with a little bit in my life because I want to get things done. I'm not a procrastinator. I want to get things done right away when I'm approached, hey, can you do this? Like, yeah, I'm going to take care of it. I'm going to get it done, and I'm going to get it done the right way. And so having to take a step back and be like, okay, I am going to get this done, but it's not something that's going to happen overnight. It might not even happen over 2 nights or 5 weeks or 5 months. Like, this could be a really long process. And so I think with that, being able to adjust into that mindset and adapt and be patient, but also don't give up and don't, take away those things, those qualities that I have. Those, let's go get it. Let's get it done quicker than we might think we can in 6 to 12 months. Let's get it done in 5. So having that balance, but also being able to like adjust into a new mindset that I might not have had, coming from an athletic background.
Looking at it from a marketing perspective, we all know that we want that Amazon, I can place my order today. It is going to be here tomorrow. If you're in Huntington, Texas, it may be there in 2 to 3 days. But yes, I mean, we have this Amazon Prime effect when it comes to marketing. And, if I send a text, then, somebody's going to either respond to me like in the next 10 minutes or never. Right. But if I Google something, if I put something in Gemini or Claude or ChatGPT, I'm going to get this immediate answer. If I post something on a social media channel, then I'm going to start getting those likes. And then when we run ads or start a marketing project, brand recognition does not work the same way. And Campbell, I would love your thought around the idea of, does your generation have more or less patience because of you grew up with the Amazon Prime effect?
Yeah, I mean, I think we sort of talked about this last time I was on the podcast about the instant gratification that we need and that we just are hungry for. Goes back to the Amazon thing. But I believe when it comes to business and marketing, there's a little bit of a shift. I think that people do, stay with what they know of. Okay, Amazon comes overnight. I can get that right away. And that's kind of how marketing is on social media. You see something, you can instantly go to their site, order something, go to it, put in your contact information. But I don't think that they are able to see the other side of it of, okay, who's actually doing the behind the scenes work? Because that might have been a campaign that's been going on for 12 months and it's just now reaching your phone. They don't see that. They just see oh, it's on my phone. It must, be awesome, must be cool, must be trendy. I'm going to press on it. And so for me, it's been different because I have only seen the other side of it, where now I'm actually doing the behind the scenes of planning, strategizing. How long is this going to take? How is it going to reach people? And so I would say, like, yes, our generation wants that instant, but if they're not working in marketing, they might never actually see what goes on prior to reaching their phone.
I call it using your greatest hits. And I've talked to so many agents about this, and they'll say, oh, well, I've already done that. And I'm like, yeah, you posted that on Facebook 9 months ago, one time. Right. You have to do things repetitively over and over and over. And yes, if you're looking at your own socials, then you see every post and every graphic and every video, but your audience hasn't. Like, they don't know that you've already talked about that, right? Your customer is not studying your marketing. I haven't memorized your past 37 Instagram or TikTok posts.
No. And a lot of the times they're seeing the same ad, it might, resurface on their social media 2 or 3 times, but that doesn't mean they're also seeing the 5 other posts you've made prior to that. They could just be seeing the one over and over. So I totally agree with you.
Yeah, I fall into that. I think I'm very patient, a very patient person, but marketing is, and Tonya knows this about me, marketing and me have a long, frustrating history, right?
Shane loved to build a website, let me tell you.
Yeah. I now think I have a Campbell now, and so I don't want to do that. And I had a Tonya before that, and so I learned not to do certain things and myself. And I you know, part of that frustration does center around a lot of the patience and not having the patience that Campbell is talking about. It does take time. I think the thing, and she's been talking about this with me over the last few weeks as she's kind of developed some report outs and developed a project plan, and it's measurement, right? The measurability of stuff. Like, how are we going to measure this? And we need to measure this. And maybe we shouldn't do this, across 36 states, day one. Maybe we should do this across one state. Maybe we should measure that. And then, I think that's good. And that's probably where, through the years, I've made the mistake of thinking like my customers already know, to your point, Tonya, like, well, why don't my customers understand what I'm saying? I've been thinking about this for a year now and they're not hearing me. Like, why are they not hearing me? And I think that's really easy as agency owners for us to get that way. Like, I think that's where some of the technicality of our industry and the acronyms and using insurance speak, and we don't understand why the customers don't understand us. And you've got to communicate more clearly. You've got to be, you got to simplify some things down and understand. And I don't want to forget this. In the midst of all of that stuff that Campbell's talking about, that she's, transitioning from, college athlete, post-grad, now into her career, is, I threw a little bit of a surprise on her, like in her first, right as she's about to start, and said, oh, by the way, as you're starting your marketing career here at Integra, I want you to go ahead and study for your license and get your insurance license. And so, and she did, and she did, and she got it done. And so I think that is also kind of an important fact around marketing. And just, do you understand what it is you're marketing, right? Do you understand it well? I mean, Tonya spent almost 6 months on a project before she even came to work here as a consultant contractor for us, really just diving into our industry, right? A little bit different than where Campbell started, internship, part-time, and then get your license. I think those are things that are really important for us to understand when we get into marketing something, that we need to understand the industry and understand what we're doing.
Yeah, I will say one thing that I'm grateful for with, before taking on the full-time position, having that internship last summer, and then being an Integra athlete before. I mean, I feel like I learned so many things, not about insurance, about, some Integra A's and what they stand for. Just being an athlete, I learned a lot about myself too. We did a lot of branding and how to reach people and how to get your name out there. So that's marketing in itself. And then doing the internship, I met so many people. I learned so many things about different career paths and how the industry works, ins and outs. And so that's ultra marketing, right? Marketing, those people are marketing themselves, their jobs, the insurance industry as a whole. And then taking on this full-time position, learning about insurance, actually getting my license, learning all of the jargon and all of the things that, the terms and phrases I would have never known if I didn't get my license. And then finally, jumping into it. It's just, all of it as a whole has led me to, have a stronger awareness of who Integra is, and not just Integra, but the insurance industry as a whole. And so now being able to apply that, I am so grateful that I went through all of those steps before getting here, because I think it would have been a lot more overwhelming for me.
I think sometimes agency owners just jump into quote unquote marketing because it's what someone else is doing, or what they think someone else is doing, or what they're seeing on social media. And they don't really even understand what marketing is. And the idea that, number one, you're creating awareness and credibility, trust. You want to create a preference for them seeing you and somehow create familiarity, right? And then when it comes time to convert that to sales, you're taking those preferences that you have created and you are turning it into action, right? And that's where sometimes I think people get confused about what marketing really is supposed to do. And it's the idea of, well, I spent $2,000 and I spent $2,000 this month, but I can only see where I wrote $1,500 in premium from it. Well, we don't have a product that people want, and our product isn't one of those things that people tend to buy except maybe twice a year, right? Sometimes once a year.
Yeah.
So you can't say A plus B equals C when you're marketing our product.
Yeah. And, we're not selling a boat. We're not selling,
We are. If anybody wants one, let me know.
I just had this conversation with a new sales rep that started in the last couple of weeks. She's currently in her licensing process and going through that. And so she's coming from the auto sales industry. It's a young lady that I've known. I coached her way back in club sports at an early age, 12U, 14U. And she's been very successful selling vehicles and auto sales. And she wants to make the switch and come over to the insurance industry. And I think she's going to be great. And she's going to do really well. She's in our retail operation here in East Texas. But, one of those conversations, talk about hard things. I had, a really hard conversation where I felt as though at times I was trying to convince her not to do this, right? Like, are you sure? Like, basically that you're moving from this environment where when people show up or call you or text you from, hey, I'm thinking about buying this new Ford F-150 or this Ford Raptor pickup or a Mustang. Like, when people come to you to buy that, if you're in car sales, like, they're not coming to you with dread. They're coming to you with excitement. Like, they will swim oceans to buy that Mustang. Like, they are really just excited about that. Not so much when it comes to the insurance purchase process, right? They don't feel that way. And we had long discussions about that. And she understands it. And she has an uncle and another in another state, I think, that is in the insurance business, and she understands, kind of talk to him. And it made sense for her to make this change, right? The hours are terrible in the, car selling business, just not very family friendly. And so made a lot of sense. But it just reminded me, to your point, that people don't love to buy our product. And so we have to figure out in the marketing, how do we get people's attention, right? Like, how do we make it not so dreadful? Like, I think that's a really important piece of insurance marketing.
Yes, and you can't just do that by putting bright colors and fun sayings either.
No,
it doesn't quite work like that.
No, that doesn't work either, unfortunately.
So, Campbell, I would love for you to answer Shane's question there.
Well, I think it's kind of a couple of things. I mean, first of all, like you mentioned multiple times, it's a very niche industry, one that I'm unfamiliar with. Obviously I'm learning more as I go, but previously I had never experienced, my parents were independent agents, they didn't own their own insurance agency. So it's never something that I have seen. But I think there's a lot of ways that, you can target these people. One, having something like this, right? That's why we're trying to market the podcast. I mean, this is something that is real in their lives. they experience this. These are the topics that they hear about every day. They're trying to learn about. So for me, that has been the biggest thing, highlighting this podcast. And obviously there's other podcasts out there that are probably talking about similar things, talking about this industry. But for us, like, this what makes us special, right? Our website, yes, we're an independent agency, or we're trying to market to independent agents, but at the same time, like, what do we have that they don't? It's this podcast. We have a blog. We have, now we have our Substack. Like, there's things that people can follow and make us more interesting to learn about us. I mean, for me, that's the biggest thing coming into it is, like, we're not really marketing towards customers, right? We're not marketing towards the consumer. Like, we want agents, right? As we want people that are interested in these topics and these, real world problems that they are going through in their jobs. And so for me, it's this. That's how we get people to be interested in us. It's our podcast.
So taking that idea from a B2B, business to business, which is what we primarily are, to B2C, business to customer, I think this is where so many agents go wrong. And I'm going to kind of do a little bit, maybe a round robin, and I'm going to throw out a type of marketing. I'm going to throw out the response that I have heard from agents. And then I would love for the two of you to respond to that. And the first one is always going to be social media. Well, I posted for 6 weeks. I posted for 3 months. And nothing happened.
Campbell, I'll let you go first on this one because I'm going to be negative. So go ahead.
I mean, I think that's the truth. I mean, you're not always going to become famous on social media. You're not always going to get that greatest hit, like you said earlier. And that's really important. I mean, Shane and I talked about this as well. You could throw 10 things out there and only one of them sticks. You could send 30,000 emails and only 1% of those even get opened. Like, it's trial and error. It's like exactly how sports are, right? Like, you're going to fail more times than you're going to succeed unless you have, that 1 in a million, right? People are trying to be influencers all over social media, all over TikTok, all over Instagram. But how many of those people are actually famous? I mean, obviously you're seeing them. So like, that percentage might seem massive to you, but think about how many people are actually out there trying to post every day and never get more than 20 likes. I can't even imagine how many people there are.
Yeah.
So that, for me, that's the biggest thing of, like, you're not always going to become famous, but the one time that you do blow up, or the one time that you do get those likes, get those views, it just takes off from there.
Yeah.
And I don't believe you have to be internet famous. I believe that your social media marketing should make you familiar. It should make you likable. And if you have something go viral and it has, 500,000 views, well, that's amazing. Love that for you. But how many of those views are people that are going to be your customer? And I would rather you have some really great strategic views, even if it's only 8 or 80, that are of people that are going to be your customer.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I think social media is frustrating. And I think a lot of people think it's frustrating, right? That doesn't mean social media sponsorship ads are terrible. It's just, I agree that the familiarness, I think Tonya, you were the one that said that. I think that's the thing, right? Like, okay, I've seen this somewhere before. I've seen this guy or this gal before. I think the really hard part about marketing insurance is it's not like products that somebody can just go buy or they're ready to buy at all times, right? It's not that whole Amazon effect. People are only ready to buy when they're having a moment, buying a house, their existing insurance is expiring. Like, what you're trying to do with social media, my view, is be familiar enough that you're top of mind when they are ready to buy, right? When they're ready to deal with it, because they're not waking up We need to get this out of our brain as insurance people. They're not waking up. Consumers aren't waking up every day saying, man, I want to go get some insurance today. Like that has never happened in the history of the world. It's never going to happen. Okay. So let's just go ahead, confront the brutal facts. We are in an industry that is somewhat of a mandate industry to the consumer, even though I believe it is the most critical industry in our economy. No one can start a business, buy a home, get on the road and drive your vehicle without a risk transfer mechanism. That's what insurance is. Nobody would start a business if they couldn't buy insurance. We are that vital to the economy. That does not mean that people love us. Okay. So that's two different issues. So I think familiarness with social media is the point. And I am still struggling with that. Like I still want to look at our social media and go, why don't we have 10 million followers? We've been doing this for a long time. And the reality of it is it's hard. And that's not necessarily going to mean your followers don't necessarily mean your impact. I think that's another one that's been really hard for me to get my head around.
Yeah, I agree. And one thing that I wanted to mention with the last point when I was talking about, that viral hit, because like you said, Tonya, that's not necessarily the importance of this industry. But one thing that I find really important and things that I look for, and I'm sure many other people also look for when they're wanting to work with any sort of company, no matter what industry it's in, they want their posts to be frequent and relevant and updated, right? You don't want to go to a company's account and press on it like, okay, maybe I'm interested. I found them on a Google search, I'm going to go to their socials and their last post was in 2025. Like, to me, that's immediate no. Like, I don't feel like they care about showing their customers what they're in for. And so it doesn't have to be, hey, come work for us or hey, come buy our product, but just updating with, things that the company's doing or, it really doesn't matter what you post, honestly. Like, yes, what industry you're in will differentiate the things that you're posting, but the fact that you're posting, the fact that you're updating consumers, that's what's important.
So can I ask, I know you want to round robin us here, Tonya. Can I ask a question on that, like a part B that you and Campbell both kind of throw in there? So on that note that Campbell just mentioned about having an infrequent posting plan or just like nothing's updated, whatever. What is worse in y'all's view? Having that where you have this, it's been 18 months since your last social media post, or not having that social platform at all?
I don't think not having the social platform at all is even a possibility at this point if you want to have a successful business. I would say to an agency owner that absolutely hates social media, if you have travelers, the Travelers social media program is fantastic. The Progressive has a good one. Fitco has a good one. Mercury's is pretty decent. But all of your carriers have social media programs that will post for you for free. So if you hate social media and you don't want to have anything to do with it, at least let those things run. And then you're really not having to touch it except maybe once a quarter. Now, there's some downfalls to that. If you're in Texas and it's October and it's, teaching you how to prep for winter with your snow chains, then people might notice that, okay, this is a little bit off, but they're probably not paying as much attention as I am to that. But I don't think it's an option at this point to not have socials. And there are so many programs that are out there that will do that for you that your carriers offer. Would I rather you do a combination of 5 or 6 shares to every sale? Absolutely. Absolutely 100%, because social media is supposed to be social. People don't get on there to be sold. And even if you are selling, it needs to be somewhat entertaining.
Yep.
But for me, Shane, yeah, it has to be there. Campbell,
right.
what do you think?
Gen X, let's hear the Gen Z.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a tough question because I think both would be really bad. First of all, if you don't have updated social media, it depends how not updated it is. Like, if I'm talking like 2022, I'd rather you just don't have it. I'd rather you just don't have it. Because then it's like, okay, like really, like we're gonna post from 2022 something that's so like not irrelevant in today's economy, today's industry. But if you're not gonna have social media, then you better have a really good website and your brand better be very known. Like, which doesn't happen, right? Like you don't have a brand that is a massive brand that doesn't have social media. So it's kind of a tricky question, but you can't, I feel like you can't not have social media.
Right. And now you don't have to do all social media, right?
Right.
Like, for instance, Dunkin', the brand formerly known as Dunkin' Donuts, has not posted on their Facebook since November of 2024. They made the decision in November of 2024 that they were done with the Book of Faces. They have an extraordinarily active Instagram. They have a very active TikTok. But they made the decision to totally leave the Book of Faces, right? 2 years ago. I would have rather them take it down than leave it as it is. But that's a personal thing for me. I'm just really with Campbell. If you're not going to post to it at all, it needs to go away.
Yeah. Makes sense. Especially with Meta and the whole connection there where you can just make it flow. And that's
right.
That's a weird decision. But yeah, people, I'm sure they have their reasons.
Yes. And at least Dunkin', like they're not going to lose customers for not posting on Facebook. So there's also that.
Yeah.
Right.
So maybe so. What are you saying? What are you saying, Campbell? Are you saying that
brand awareness is what I'm saying. Top of mind. They have a lot of loyal people who love their coffee that will go there no matter what.
this is true?
Campbell, what she's saying is that you and I are not in their target demographic.
I think that's what she was saying.
That's exactly what she's saying.
Yeah. That's right.
Let's talk about networking. Actually physically attending a networking event or an online networking event. Like, I don't know how many people that I've heard say, well, I attended those 2 or 3 chamber events and I never got anything out of it. Like, first of all, did you talk to the same 3 people that you already knew at all of the events? Or did you reach out and connect with new people? When you're doing networking, it's not a one and done kind of event.
Yeah, I'll jump in here first. This is my favorite, maybe one of my favorites is just networking, community relation type things. I like this for agency owners. I like this for insurance agencies in general, just because we are so local, in terms of our reach. I mean, 86% of us are generally in the marketplace are under like 8 employees across the country. And so that means we, work and live where our customers work and live. And networking is a big deal. I think what happens and where agents go wrong is when they go to that 1 or 2 events and they are uncomfortable and they don't love it. And maybe they're a little bit uncomfortable with just the environment and putting themselves out there. And then they don't go back and they say, it's no good, one, you got to put yourself out there. The other thing is the businesses that are also there, they want customers too. They're there for that same reason that you are there. And when you bring things to the table, you tend to get things back, right? And so if you could be a connector, I know Tonya has talked about this in the past. She likes the connection kind of concept, being a connector. If you can connect one of your customers to one of the, people at that networking event somehow, man, that may lead you to 10 opportunities, 10 referrals, who knows? I mean, it seems to exponentially return to you, but you got to keep going, and it's almost like it's not that much different than Campbell's reference to it's a marathon, not a sprint. Let's keep going, keep doing this.
One of the things that Chip McLean at McLean and Company in Keller, Texas does at his networking events that I really think is a great idea is he will connect with people in different businesses that somehow have a connection to insurance, whether it is a mold removal company or a foundation repair company, an auto glass company, and he'll make those connections and then invite them for a short video on social, on YouTube, on TikTok, on Insta, even on the Book of Faces, right? But he will invite people to chat on his socials with him. And then, of course, those get shared with the person he's talking with their social media people. And he becomes familiar in that cross-sell, cross-video environment. If you go into networking events with that kind of idea, or what I tend to do, which is figure out like what 3 or 4 questions I'm going to ask before I go into those events. And that way I'm not standing there thinking, okay, what should I say to this person? Having a plan for what you're going to do with your networking time will make it way more valuable than if you go into the networking time and you stand in the corner of your phone doing this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which I see that a lot.
Yeah. It's hard. I mean, you want your phone for electronic sharing of information, for maybe taps, whatever. And then sometimes I think you just leave the phone up. This is the old school guy in me, just like leave it in your vehicle, and then, force yourself to hand out real business cards instead of the electronic business cards. And I know that's personal preference, right? But I think that's a really good one. And obviously Gen Zs and millennials are not leaving their phone in their vehicle. I get it. I'm okay with that too. Because it's a little bit of a personal preference, as well.
I always wear the Contact Co bracelet. I think I pay like $6 a month for the service. But and they make pretty ones for females and they make the normal ones for guys. That's the reason I went with it. So I don't have to have my phone in my hand. I can just hit the back of their phone with my bracelet and they get all of my contact information. And then it sends me the contact information for the person that I gave it to. And I've realized that the Contact Co bracelet really is a great conversation extender. People want to know about it. And so they'll keep talking to me and find out more. And it takes it from a feeling like it's marketing to that, oh, this is so cool. And let's keep talking on it.
Yeah. On that, kind of blend that back into your old school mindset like me. I love the fact that several years ago now, Tonya put QR codes on our business cards when she redesigned our business cards way back. And that kind of blends, right? Like I like to carry my physical business cards with me and I like to, do that, but I don't mind sharing my contact with my phone. But that allows me to also have the person, the Gen Zs, in Campbell's peer world, simply just pop my QR code and there you go. You got everything that you need, right? So it's kind of the blend of the two, gives them what they want. You know, if I run into a fellow Xer out there, then they might want my physical card, right? And so it kind of blends that world.
So let's talk referral partnerships. As in, I took a realtor to lunch. I took donuts to a bank. Where are my leads? Why haven't I heard from them?
I think this is a lot like social media too. It's awareness, right? Like I really feel like, and I feel like I need to talk to myself on this. I'm saying this because I know it's right, but I don't always act this way. So let me be clear. I think we look at these types of activities and in really any marketing, like it's supposed to give us this immediate direct return.
One and done.
One and done. I did that once, almost like the old, there's an old saying, the old man, when the wife said, you haven't told me you love me in decades. It's like, well, I told you I loved you when we got married. If I change my mind, I'll let you know. Right. Like that's like the old boomer, old saying. And so, I had an older, guy in our community actually tell me that I know a man that actually lived like that. And so I'm sorry for his wife. But that is not marketing. Like that is not, you can't show up I brought you those donuts 2 years ago and you guys never sent me a lead. You never sent me a referral. Like, no, come on. You got to build a relationship. Number one, you need to earn that referral. And I think that's where that referral partnership comes from is why do I want to trust my client, my relationship with you? Are you referral worthy? I think that is a big question, right? Relationships in business, our business relationships are really, really important, like very critical. And I'm not going to send you somebody if I haven't gotten to know you. And I can't get to know you over one donut drop off or, check in. You came to one realtor luncheon and gave me your card. I don't know you. Like I need to get to know you. You need to invest in me, invest in this process. And I think that's where we go wrong is we're so short cycled in this entire marketing networking concept.
What about community sponsorship? As in, I sponsored a little league team. Where are my leads? I sponsored XYZ event, or I bought a table at a fundraiser.
Yeah.
Why am I not getting leads from that?
Back to something that Campbell's been kind of pushing on is, number one, are you even tracking it? Are you measuring it? Do you know where some of those phone calls came from? How do you know you didn't get a lead from that? That's one thing. But then the opposite of that is back to awareness, brand building doesn't necessarily or immediately give you a lead. We do a lot of, in our retail operation, we do a lot of community event sponsorships around schools, school events, around our chamber events. It's a slippery slope. Just kind of being transparent there. It's hard to not do it once you start, right? Because then you start thinking, well, I sponsored that golf tournament or I sponsored that event. And then that event becomes a little bit dependent on your sponsorship because they're trying to put this thing on. And when you pull that sponsorship, it's not the best reputation feeling, right? Like, oh, Integra pulled their sponsorship. Like that didn't feel good. And so you kind of need to go into that, my opinion, with a lot of discernment. Am I committing to a long-term strategy here, or am I spending this $1,500 expecting $1,500 back next month? Because that's probably not going to work.
The other thing is, are you at the event? I don't know. And this is one of Shane's pet peeves. It's one of mine. You buy a sponsorship or an event and it comes with a table. And then you've got a table there that has your company's name on it and there's nobody sitting there. Well, you've totally missed the point of the sponsorship, right?
Yeah.
Or if you are sponsoring a girls' softball team or a boys' baseball team, and you never show up at any of their games, then what are you doing? I mean, they're wearing your logo. That is your opportunity to be at those games and talk to those parents and grandparents and aunts and uncles and friends. And, you take stuff to those kids and those parents, and you make sure when they have their end of season event at the pizza parlor or wherever you go and you take things and you have those interactions, that's what you're paying for.
Yeah, the empty table. We just did a podcast that dropped a week or two ago that from this recording about Chick-fil-A and how, them being closed on Sunday, part of their values, part of their core values. And I made the comment of Chick-fil-A being closed on Sunday is kind of this quiet marketing, right? It's like this quiet branding, because when you drive by, or the conversation went down this path of if the Chick-fil-A is in an airport, Sundays when you want Chick-fil-A the most, for whatever reason, it's like, that's when you want it the most. And it's kind of become a little bit of this quiet marketing in my mind. That is not what an empty sponsorship table is, right? Let's not confuse those two things. Like, you paid money, you gave these people money, and then you told them you didn't care. Right. And this has happened to us accidentally, right, in the past. I learned this the hard way, in that it just didn't feel good. Like, it was just this white, tint card, and it said Integra insurance, and it was empty. Nobody was there. Like, I got a text of somebody taking a picture. It was a buddy of mine saying, "Hey man, where you at?" And I'm like, ooh, that's really, really a bad look.
Campbell, I would love for you to share with our audience, what are older marketers and business owners doing wrong? What is it that Shane and I are doing wrong to reach your peer group?
It's a tough question. I would say those are kind of two different groups. I would say people who are not willing to change with the way that technology is changing is a big thing. If you're not using AI, you're behind. If you're not using social media, you're behind. If you're not updating things, you're behind. Like, updating yourself, reading online about how technology is advancing, that sort of thing. So that would be the biggest thing for me. If you're refusing to buy into how our world is changing, then you're going to be behind. That's probably the biggest thing for everyone. There's people who are my age that are behind because they weren't willing to buy into it. There's people who are 5 years older than me that are behind. There's kids that are younger than us, that are going through college right now that are behind because they're not being updated with how the world is actually working with, new advancements in technology. So that's the number one thing I would say. Other than that, then it would just be social media to me. If you're not willing to, invest time, because I would say 90% of social media is going to be free, right? You get into certain things if you want to do partnerships or brand deals or, things like that start to cost money, but social media itself is free. So if you're not willing to just spend a little bit of time to, update or create an account, then you're not going to reach people that are my age and going to be coming up as the next generations.
So I want to flip that question. And what marketing advice from Shane and from me do you think that your generation needs to hear?
I would say how to not fully rely on the things that we see with that. Like, I'm going to flip exactly what I said of how you need to be updated and you need to be reading. But there's a lot of value to be had in the experiences that came before all of this technology, blew out of proportion, and now we can't live without AI. So I would say being willing and bought into people who have had that life experience and the experience in any industry before technology, and taking, the wisdom and the advice of that and being able to have a good balance of both sides.
I think that I wanted to share something because we've always been pretty transparent org and talked about what we were doing on our podcast, in our organization. And I will say, like, one of the, first thing I thought of was like being behind and AI and all that. And you can't really have a conversation today without having AI jump into it at some point. Right. And so, one of the things that's kind of, I've personally shifted from, and Tonya will kind of resonate with this. I don't know if it was like a year and a half, but sometime I would say safely within the last 2 years. I remember specifically being like, okay, look, I don't want to write blogs with AI. I don't want to do this with AI. I want to make sure that we stay authentic. And I still believe that we need to stay authentic. Okay. I still believe that authenticity is super, super important. However, what I think has happened in some of the movement that I've had personally is, the utilization of AI. And that's just like Campbell's talking about, like we're doing some blog posting with AI from our podcast. Right. And so when you're going and reading a blog, or you're going to, read our Substack post, you're seeing some AI results, but the authenticity of that came from this podcast, the words I'm speaking right now. Right. And I've kind of let go of that a little bit because the truth of the matter is, to Campbell's point, you can't keep up. Like, there's too many things to do in a day if you're an agency owner, and there's tools available to you. You just want to make sure that what AI is generating on your behalf fits with what you believe, right? And I think that's the most important piece. There's so much that can be done, and there's really so many things, I would say, just in the last 30, maybe 45 days, just with Campbell's project, that has moved so much faster. Right. And it's because of that utilization and me kind of letting go a little bit of, okay, I'm going to have to find a different, comfort level here. And I think that's important for agency owners to also know.
And is all of this talk about AI makes you nervous and you don't know how to use it and blah, blah, blah. Use Copilot, try Gemini, try ChatGPT, pick one. You don't have to know all of them. Pick one and let the first thing you put in there be, teach me how to use you in the most efficient way. Yeah. And you will be shocked at the information it's going to give you. Go on YouTube, Google how to use, I need an intro video on how to use AI. If you pay for masterclass, which is absolutely the best $99 a year that you could probably use to invest in yourself, watch those AI masterclasses. They're going to make your prompting be so much better. I mean, and they're constantly putting new ones on masterclass. But figure out what you can do, and then keep asking it questions. And if you don't like to type, guess what? It'll do it with your voice. It's pretty incredible, but it will teach you how to use it. But just know that it's like any other tool that you use. The first time you use it's not going to be as effective as the 30th time you use it. And it's not going to be as effective as the 100th time you use it. So just remember, when it comes to marketing, and going back to Campbell's reference of it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. Like, nobody wins a marathon at mile 2. That's kind of like, for me, like, nobody wins a football game in the first quarter, right? I mean, if you don't think something is working, you probably haven't given it enough time, right? I mean, people love the starting line because, like, they get to have a new logo and they get to have a new campaign and it's a new website, it's a new strategy and all of those things. But what is actually going to work, that is built in those, I guess, kind of those miles where nobody's really watching and nobody's applauding you, right?
Yeah, that's right. And, don't forget to measure, right? I think a lot of times I forget to measure. I forget to think about measuring, and then I do something, and then I look up and it's like, what are we doing? Right? Well, is this working? Like, what are we doing? And so, yes, it takes a while, and you might need a halftime adjustment to throw in another, a little bit of a analogy there, sports analogy, but measure it and understand that it's not gonna maybe give you that immediate return. You might get lucky and you hit a home run right out of the gate, but most of the time, most marketing is going to take a while. And you just need to, keep at it, keep measuring, and don't be afraid to tweak it a little bit.
Campbell, thank you so much for joining us today. We love having you on our team. I appreciate this topic suggestion. It was a really, really great one. And we hope that you'll come back and join us again soon.
Thank you.
I'm going to leave us today with this quote from Dean Karnazes, who is an ultra marathon runner, which I didn't even know an ultra marathon was a thing until last week. Mm-hmm. So reaching out for something new, run when you can, walk if you have to, crawl if you must, just never give up.
Attitude's a choice. Make a great one.
Bye, y'all.
At the Integra Partner Network, we understand that carrier access is the key to your agency's success. That's why Integra offers direct access to top-rated personal and commercial carriers, ensuring your agency thrives in today's challenging market. And with our comprehensive resources, profit sharing and bonus opportunities, technology and peer support, all while you retain 100% of your book with no penalties to exit. Integra is ready to empower you and your agency to find sustained growth. Find your way to Integra. Visit IntegraPartnerNetwork.com today. That's IntegraPartnerNetwork.com.